Hey everyone, welcome to That's Peculiar. I'm Nathan.
I'm Andra.
And I have a show for you today. But first, we have a fun fact.
Yes.
So, Andra, is water wet?
Is water wet?
Is water wet? It's a big debate on the internet. I mean, it was a couple years ago.
I don't think so.
You don't think water is wet? So a lot of people would disagree with you and say that water is wet. However, scientists are now coming to it like the decision that water itself is not wet. It just has the ability to make other things
wet. It's an adjective based from water. So I did not ever read about this. I didn't even know it was like a debate. But no, I would not say water is wet. Water makes other things wet. The thing that changes that for me is that the particles can like freeze. They change. So water is like,
I mean,
it's not.
Yeah, I guess. Interesting.
That's why I don't think it's wet.
That's why you don't think it's wet, because it can freeze and get hard.
Because it just it changes. Water is water.
Oh, okay. I would normally be like water is wet, but I never really put a whole lot of thought into it. I just let people debate it. But now we have scientists saying water itself is not wet. It's the ability to make other things wet. So
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Now you
That's
know.
It. Interesting. I like the question.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So for those people who think that water is wet, you might have to rethink that, because scientists are against you now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So to get us into today's episode, we are actually going to explore into one of America's most notorious hotspots of unexplained phenomena.
Arizona?
Skinwalker Ranch in Utah.
I thought you were doing like area whatever in Arizona.
Area 51? No, we are talking about Skinwalker Ranch. Have you ever heard of Skinwalker Ranch?
No, but
really?
That sounds creepy.
Oh, it's fascinating because there's actually like shows and documentaries and a whole website like dedicated to stuff about Skinwalker Ranch. So
the name is just like weird.
I know it's like, yeah, there's a story behind it. Yeah, we'll get into that. So
okay,
for about the next hour or so, we're going to go through the tapestry of ancient legends, documented anomalies, and rigorous scientific investigations that have all come together to create the modern enigma of Skinwalker Ranch. From the whispers of Native American folklore to the cutting-edge technology used in paranormal research, every layer of this story is packed with peculiar details that will leave you questioning what you thought you knew about reality.
I love these adjectives you're using.
I'm
Tapestry. Glad. Whispers. Native American whispers.
Native American whispers.
Tapestry.
So I'm trying.
Good. I love it.
All right. So to truly grasp the mystery of Skinwalker Ranch, we have to start by exploring its deep historical roots. Mm-hmm. So the roots that stretch back centuries into the oral traditions of the Navajo and the Ute people.
Yeah.
The very name
is
what?
They're primarily all in Utah, right?
Well, the Utes especially were in Utah, yes. So the very name of Skinwalker Ranch is echoes of ancient warnings found in these cultures, where the figure of the skinwalker... Oh, I forgot to look up how to pronounce this. Oh, poo. Okay, here we go. So
Now you're in the hot seat.
It's my turn. So the figure Skinwalker, or Yinaldushi, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Or
if it's like
Naaldushi.
That sounds great.
It's 2 A's, 2 O's, and 2 I's. I do my best. So
No, I get it.
yeah, I've heard you struggle. My turn. So the Skinwalker, that was the Navajo pronunciation. Did my best. Sorry. It's been a part of the local lore for generations. So, according to traditional Navajo stories, skinwalkers are not mere monsters of modern myth, but once were respected medicine men or shamanic figures who, through dark and forbidden rituals, crossed a boundary that forever altered their nature.
Oh,
I know.
these are skinwalkers.
These are skinwalkers, yes. These tales.
So they walk in between the realms with skin on?
The Skinwalker name comes from the ability for them to be able to change form.
Okay.
So you change your skinwalk. Yes. So these tales warn that by misusing spiritual power, a person might transform into a being capable of assuming the form of an animal, an act seen as the ultimate betrayal of cultural and cosmic order. That makes me think of, did you ever read the books Animorphs? Clifford the Big Red Dog, never seen Animorphs.
I've never even heard, what is Animorphs?
Animorphs is about this group of like 5 kids who stumble across like an alien species who needs their help to keep another alien species from taking over the world. Mind you, these are like 12-year-olds and they are given...
I was like, what reading level is this?
So they got the ability to like touch an animal and transform into it, and they basically became spies and little army nerds for an ancient species of aliens who probably could have done it themselves. I don't know. It's a whole thing.
You know what I did listen to?
What?
Treehouse Mysteries.
You know, I think I read a couple of those.
I think we were just not on the same reading page.
I like
youngins.
fun stuff, so I don't know.
Treehouse Mysteries is so cool, and so is Nancy Drew and Trixie Belden.
Stop.
I think Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Get over it. Some of the early Some of the earliest oral accounts believed to have been passed down through countless generations that date back to at least the 17th century. However, as European settlers began to document Native American traditions during the 19th century, more structured narratives started to appear in the ethnographic records. For instance, in the 1880s, early anthropologists and missionaries working in the American Southwest noted local legends of shape-shifting beings that roamed the desert lands. Although these records were sparse and often filtered through the lens of cultural misunderstanding, they provided a glimpse into the long-standing nature of these beliefs.
So you're saying anthropologists, the study of humans, that's anthropology, they're saying that they found shape-shifting humans.
They noted the local legends of shape-shifting beings.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yes.
I thought you were saying that they like found skeletons of shape-shifting beings or something, and I was like,
how would you know that they
how
were
is this hidden?
No, they have records of them, and that's why they were often filtered as a cultural misunderstanding.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, they do the study of like everything, evolution and all of that.
Yeah, anthropologists is interesting work.
Mm-hmm.
One particularly evocative, wow, I rammed 2 words together. One story tells of a Navajo elder in the mid-1800s who recounted an encounter near what is now Skinwalker Ranch. The elder described a night when unusual lights danced across the horizon and animals behaved erratically.
Northern Lights?
You know, it could be. But the
That
Northern Lights...
sounds like the Northern Lights.
The Northern Lights rarely come this low, though.
Right, but they do.
Occasionally. I mean, it could have happened.
If we've seen them in Sonora, but animals are always kind of stranger on the Northern Lights. It like brings out, it's like the moon. Brings out a little like friskiness in the animals.
That's funny. According to the tale, a revered medicine man was summoned to the area only to return with a somber warning. Something had disturbed the natural order.
Okay.
Story passed down by that elder's descendants emphasized that such disturbances were not random acts of nature, but the work of a skinwalker, a once honored figure now condemned for abusing a sacred power. Interesting. In addition to Navajo traditions, the Ute people also have their own versions of tales involving shapeshifters and mysterious beings inhabiting the rugged landscapes of the Southwest.
I think it's interesting that two tribes
Yes.
have very similar stories.
Yes. They're like, we saw that too.
Yeah. And again, for anyone who doesn't know, any like Native American stories were orally transferred for a long time. And then the languages they were not cohesive. They did not like mesh.
Yes.
So the languages were completely separate. So it's hard for me to believe that two tribes have the same story without a coincidence.
Like, around and in the same
they have
area.
To. Yeah, they have to. Some sort of coincidence.
So as like you were saying, that their narratives might differ in detail, but both cultures share a common thread. A deep-seated belief that the land itself is alive with forces that must be respected. These early stories were not just legends, they were cautionary accounts meant to enforce a social and spiritual boundary. Modern historians and folklorists, as seen in research articles on platforms like Ancient Origins and Smithsonian's Magazine, suggest that these legends served multiple purposes: to explain the inexplicable, to enforce moral codes, and to remind communities of the delicate balance between the seen and unseen. We've talked about how a lot of these things that we talk about, they are usually
for
like
moral code.
Yeah, like water,
as
water
like a
babies.
warning.
Yeah, like be careful what you're doing. Even as these oral traditions evolved over the centuries, the essence of the Skinwalker legend remained, a powerful narrative that would later become inextricably linked to the modern mystery of Skinwalker Ranch. By the time settlers moved into the area during the 19th century, these legends were already a well-established part of the local cultural landscape. Early settlers, often skeptical of Native American lore, because why doesn't that surprise me, occasionally reported odd occurrences that they could not explain, events that the local Navajo and Ute peoples attributed to the long-feared skinwalkers. Such intersections of tradition and first-hand observation laid the groundwork for the modern reputation of the ranch. So as we move forward, remember these ancient narratives filled with both awe and warning, and we're going to set the stage for the phenomena documented on Skinwalker Ranch today.
Right.
So they just remind us that there's a line between myth and reality, and it's usually blurred in these lands. So a theme that continues to resonate in every unexplained event recorded on the property.
It's only blurred, I think, because science doesn't explain it, and
they're trying.
Okay, but I'm just saying that the people that came to America were quite boring, so they didn't even bother trying.
Well, they're trying now.
The Puritans were just like, no, thanks.
All right. So now we're going to fast forward away from Native American people, and we're going to move forward to the late 20th century. It's when the era when Skinwalker Ranch transitioned from the local legend to a national enigma. I'm surprised you haven't heard of this. So in the early, it's really weird because I feel like if I was to show you pictures of some of the events, you'd be like, "Oh,
I've spent time in Utah too, so it's weird."
Yeah. If I showed you pictures from articles from the 90s, you'd probably be like, "I vaguely remember that." So in the early 1990s, reports of bizarre phenomena began to circulate. Livestock mutilations, unusual lights, and inexplicable sounds were not just isolated Livestock mutilations, unusual lights, and inexplicable sounds were not just isolated incidents. They formed a pattern that could not be ignored. Jesus.
That is weird.
What?
All of that. But particularly livestock mutilations is like, But there was nothing in between this, or was there?
Things were usually the weird things happen, but for somehow for some reason, I think it was, in my recollection, it was specifically these livestock mutilations that really put Skinwalker Ranch on the map as we know it today.
Now, I have a question. Do you want it now or do you want it later?
Depends on the question. I might have to push it along. What is the question?
It's about the tribe.
What about the tribe? I might not be able to answer it.
Okay. Did the Ute tribe leave the area at the same time that you're speaking of?
The 1990s?
Or are they still there?
I don't know if the Ute people are still, unfortunately.
Okay. So what I'm wondering is if they were like doing some sort of seance, but like something to please the
like they had
skinwalkers, and then when that went away, there was like mutilations of cows and
okay, like they were trying to keep whatever it was at bay by certain traditions, certain.
It just seems weird that if there was like a gap period of nothing really happening and then all of a sudden something happening.
Well, the lore from the tribes, has always been passed down. It's just we just moved ahead, so I didn't really dabble in.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool.
I was more interested in like the more recent events,
right?
Instead of the whole history. Yeah,
you usually are. So
You're
like, what has happened recently?
What's happening? Like, what's happening now? Yeah, what's happening now? So, a turning point in the ranch modern's history came with the acquisition of the property by Robert Bigelow. He's a businessman known for his interest in the paranormal, which is also, I think, part of what drove them into start looking into Skinwalker Ranch, is because he has his own personal interest in things that are unexplained.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So Bigelow's funding enabled the National Institute for Discovery Science, NIDS, to conduct systematic investigations. Their efforts, chronicled in the influential book Hunt for the Skywalker by Colm Keller and Gregory Knapp, brought unprecedented attention to the ranch. So that's what I think really happened, is he was like, hey, I own all this land. It's freaking weird. And he threw money at it to see if they could find answers.
Right. And also he published a book which gets it out there. And for anyone who does not realize, the internet was not
in the 90s.
So like a really book would be something that would like come out. Yeah.
Yeah, and
even
news
in the
articles.
2000s, it wasn't what it is now. So.
Oh, yeah. And if you have money like this guy does, you have the ability to push out whatever you want to, which could also be why it exploded in interest versus, local lore and whispers of the town.
Right.
Yeah. So during the investigations, the NIDS team documented the phenomena we talked about before, the livestock mutilations, which is interesting because they were with precision cuts, all the marks that were happened from the mutilations, missing organs, and details that were carefully recorded in the investigative reports archived by publications like Deseret News. Unexplained aerial sightings, so that includes the glowing orbs, unidentified flying objects. Some of these events, supported by radar data and air traffic control logs, are also sourced from the History Channel. And then electromagnetic anomalies, like sudden environmental changes that they really couldn't explain, creating a dossier of phenomena that defied simple explanations.
That is wild. And what is the deal with aliens and livestock? Can somebody just explain this to me, please?
I don't know. Maybe they're doing experiments, but that's what they really don't know.
It's always like livestock.
It's always livestock. Always. Yeah. We're gonna go into a little bit more of the detail of some of these things that they were.
Cool.
Yeah. So multiple articles in outlets like 14 Times and Reality Zone have compiled these accounts, reinforcing the idea that the ranch was experiencing a convergence of events that transcended normal natural phenomena. This period of intense investigation not only validated many of the ranch's strange occurrences, but also raised important questions about how modern science can study and sometimes fail to explain the anomalous. Okay, so now we're going to go into some of what we talked about before, Skinwalker Ranch, as far as the phenomena and what was recorded and the investigations that continue to, keep people interested, because they honestly, even to this day, there's no explanation to a lot of these things. So the first one being the livestock mutilations was one of the earliest and most alarming reported activities.
Words.
I know.
Words are hard.
They're so hard. So the animals that were on the property were found with surgical-like incisions, and in many cases, organs were missing. Investigations published in the archival records from local law enforcement and newspaper have highlighted the precision of these wounds. So with the precision of these wounds, it was conventional predators and natural decay simply do not account for the observed patterns. So that's why it leads to speculation of advanced technology or paranormal activity. So there are photos that you can see online, and when they say that they were mutilated, I mean, like, it was a cow, dead, obviously, unalived, and like it was half of its face was like there, and then it was like as clean as ever, nothing on this side, just bone, no flesh.
Weird.
Like missing eyeballs, missing fat, tissue,
brain.
It was just clean, like something just like whoop, cleaned it right out. And that's not, and it happened multiple times to like different body parts of these animals. It's bizarre. I won't be posting any photos of it because it could be upsetting. But if you're interested, you can definitely Google it.
Yeah.
So then there's unexplained aerial phenomenon. So witnesses have observed glowing orbs, strange craft-like shapes, and other objects that, defy our natural aerodynamics that we know today, like planes and such. So reports on platforms like Mysterious Universe detail these sightings, often noting that some of these events were captured by high-resolution cameras and corroborated by radar, meaning that they have excellent pictures of this, and not only that, is that our radar picked up the object as well. So it's not like you saw it, took a picture of it, and debunked it as fake. Like the radar recordings show there was something right here.
Something, yeah.
Yes. The possibility of unknown aerial vehicles or phenomena challenges our conventional understanding of flight and technology. And then there's also electromagnetic and environmental things that happen around that area too. It's so weird. Like there's like so much. It weirds me out. Skinwalker Ranch is somewhere I would actually like to go see. Perhaps one of the most mysterious are the environmental anomalies recorded on the ranch. What is with my ranch? I can't talk today. My bad.
Stressing.
Investigators reported that there had been sudden drops in temperature, unexpected spikes in electromagnetic readings, and even transient changes in atmospheric pressure.
Okay.
Highly unusual. Yes. So one of a particularly interesting event was documented when monitoring devices near an old barn recorded a dramatic surge in electromagnetic activity, an occurrence that coincided with reported sightings of shadowy figures and unexplained sounds. Events like this have been logged multiple times by multiple research teams, and is, of course, one of those still we don't know. But many people have documented this. And I love that it's just documenting and no answers.
Right. Which is a lot of things.
Yeah, nobody's like, hey, we know what it is now. No, I want to know. I want to know what it is. There's also been unusual biological activity. So, like the physical environment has been altered. So there have been accounts. Um, Researchers have noted odd behavior in local wildlife, such as animals acting in ways that suggest heightened stress or fear. While these observations are less documented than other phenomena, they add yet another layer of intrigue. Various online
Right.
paranormal research databases have compiled these accounts, hinting at the possibility that the ranch's mysterious energy might influence living creatures in subtle ways. It's they have there were stories of um what was it? There was something about the way the cows were standing at one point made everybody kind of go, well, that's unusual. Um, like they would be in one area of like the the grasslands and be totally fine, and then all of a sudden they were freaking out, and there was no indication of like wild
Why?
animals trying to get them. They
Yeah.
just freaked
And
out.
animals can sense something that humans can't. So
Yes. There is, what is it? Something about Skinwalker Ranch on, it was on the history. It's on the History Channel. You know it's going to be good. Uh, so they were doing literally recording for the show, and the cows were fine. And all of a sudden the cows were freaking out, and they actually found a mutilated
weird.
cow. Yeah, during the recording. And there was no,
So something
yeah, it was mutilated,
something
and
happened.
it had just happened because the cow was
Right.
warm.
Right.
Like they hadn't been laying there, and they had a veterinarian come out and look at it to see if like it had some underlying health conditions that all of a sudden manifested and caused death. And they were
And
like,
cause it to slice itself up.
yeah, but this one was less perfect like the ones in the 90s, but it just
Okay.
suddenly died. And the veterinarian was like, I have no idea what caused this.
Right.
There's no indication that it should have died. So, very weird stuff.
Yeah, it's super weird. It's
Mm,
poor cows. I love cows so much.
they're always they're always being hurt or injured in some
Yeah,
way.
I know. They're
Eh,
like they're like the big dogs of the livestock world. It's just they're
uh,
so sweet.
yeah, it's really sad, but you know,
Hmm,
it happens, and we don't know what we're dealing with.
I know.
Uh, so the scientific community, when dealing with the mysteries of Skinwalker Ranch, have adopted a dual approach by embracing rigorous investigation while also urging caution and skepticism. But I feel like that's how scientists always operate.
Right.
So, high tech equipment, including thermal imaging cameras, electromagnetic field detectors, and even seismographs, have been deployed in an attempt to capture hard evidence of the unexplained.
Hmm.
So, they're using everything at their disposal
Yeah.
to figure out what it could possibly be.
And they haven't caught anything?
No, they haven't found any information. I mean, some scientists say that it could just be geological factors like unique mineral compositions or subtle seismic activity that might be responsible for some of the anomalies.
Are
So,
the cows still like getting mutilated that way or
not like they had been earlier, but they are still just, dying somehow suddenly.
Mhm.
Um, So, for example, localized mineral deposits can sometimes create unusual electromagnetic fields, potentially explaining some of the unexpected readings when it comes to electromagnetics. Because
Right.
there's a oh my gosh, what is it called? A big flat mountain range. What do they call that? Why am I forgetting this?
Or desert?
No, it goes up like a table. What is it called?
Oh,
That has a name. It has a
tabletop.
literally it has a name, and it literally was in my mouth, and then it just said nope. Anyway, Where was I? Yes.
So
So
Flat Mountain.
it's not what it's called. It's a flat mountain, but that's not what it's called.
Yeah.
It was right there. It's fine. It's fine. If it comes to me, I'll say it.
Okay.
So, Skeptical Inquirer articles and resources from CSICOP, don't know what that stands for, have examined these possibilities, suggesting that cognitive biases like the observer expectancy effect may lead witnesses to interpret ordinary events as extraordinary, which basically means when you see something because of the stories you've heard about that, you go with it and you make up a story that sounds right for that idea.
Right.
So if
and
you
your
see
brain plays tricks on you.
Yeah, so like if you saw that, like, I don't know, in Phoenix, Arizona, you'd be like, well, that's weird, but that's explainable for this reason. And then you saw it in Skinwalker Ranch, you'd be like, oh my God, that's so weird. We're at Skinwalker Ranch and weird things are happening.
Yeah, except I would never see a mutilated cow and be like, that's explainable.
Well, yeah, not that part. Just some God. Harsh.
I'm really stuck on these cows.
The cows. We're not even talking about the cows anymore.
I still am.
Jesus. So the sheer consistency and variety of the phenomena reported at Skinwalker Ranch do make it difficult to attribute everything to known natural causes, which is why it's so hard to say, because they're like, well, it could be this, but then they say, but it doesn't explain that.
Right.
Not saying that they all have to be related, but in order for that thing to happen, I feel like it would all have to happen in a very specific way. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
It's like cohesively happening. So if it's not related, why would each of those things be happening cohesively?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like if it has to happen, like if this could happen because of this, how is it all happening all at the same time to make
right? That? Yeah.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
My brain is mush.
It makes sense.
Okay, I'm glad.
I get it. It.
So many findings from the NIDS investigations were presented at academic conferences where they sparked intense debate. Despite the lack of a unifying theory, the ranch has undeniably pushed the boundaries of our current scientific paradigms, forcing researchers to consider new models that bridge the gap between folklore and measurable data.
Right.
So that to me
makes sense.
It means like it's like you kind of you have to adjust what you're doing, because insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So you have to change your science, but also make it make sense and trackable.
Yeah.
I guess.
But to some extent, I think there's some things that will never be explained in the world, though.
I think I disagree. I think that
I know you do. I think you do.
I think they will be explained. We just haven't developed enough of our, mental capacities.
Right, but then don't you think something else after that would be unexplained?
Well, yeah, but then you just keep growing, and that's how you evolve that's how humanity evolves.
Exactly, but eventually there's always going to be something unexplained.
Yeah, until everything's explained. And then we've reached our pinnacle of humanity.
You think that's possible, pinnacle?
Absolutely not. Not the way we destroy ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm right.
Oh, okay. You're right, just because I don't think we can reach perfection. Blah, 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 blah. So there's ongoing dialogue between skeptics and believers, obviously. It ensures that while we remain open to the mysteries of the unknown, we also hold our investigations to rigorous scientific standards. So Skinwalker Ranch is one of the questions rather than a definitive answer, because it's one of those places where we just can't figure it out.
There's a couple of those.
So beyond the scientific and investigative sides, Skinwalker Ranch has cemented its status as a modern myth, a cultural phenomenon that transcends simple explanation. Its story has inspired countless books, documentaries, and television series, each offering a different way to see the mystery. The influence of The Hunt for the Skinwalker, the book, was huge. So that work, along with numerous articles and media reports, has helped shape the public's perception of the ranch. It isn't just a place of strange happenings, it's a symbol of enduring human fascination with the unknown, which we have talked about before. So there is an official site, Skinwalker Ranch Official. It serves as a repository for all the latest research. There's archival footage and documented events that ensures that the conversation remains active and evolving. The ranch also highlights a cultural shift in an age where science and technology often provide the answers. Skinwalker Ranch reminds us that there is still room for mystery.
Right.
It challenges the assumptions and invites us to consider the boundaries between myth and reality, maybe more porous than we had believed before. So curiosity holds us, and, Skinwalker Ranch is one of those places. Unlike Mystery Spot in Santa Cruz, California.
Unlike. That's man-made. In case anyone was wondering,
which is highly unfortunate because the story of it sitting on the mountainside and sliding down and hitting against this tree,
it sounds great.
It does, and they really
it's man-made.
They really sell it. It's really a bummer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what are your since you really don't know about Skinwalker Ranch, which kind of surprises me, like what do you think about all of that?
Well, I'm still set on the name Skinwalker. Does somebody own this ranch?
Yeah, that guy.
What guy?
The guy that I mentioned in the beginning. What's his face? Something Bigelow.
Okay, so they still own it?
As far as I know, he still owns it. Yeah, and they are still continuing to do investigative research now.
And still doing livestock?
Well, they have cows.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It's not like they're using them as bait.
That's how it feels. I think that there could totally be something weird. I do also see the side that maybe there's, like, to some extent that the phenomenon has been, like, exploited. So now people go there and they're like, oh my gosh, weird stuff happened.
So, but the weird thing is people really actually aren't allowed on Skinwalker Ranch. You can't just show up there.
So where are these sightings coming from?
It's from investigatives, and then there's people who had lived around that area before. So there was a family that lived on the ranch, and things were happening, and something about, I think it was money eventually, but it was just got so crazy that they just couldn't handle it anymore, and so they were like, we gotta go.
Right.
And they're just... There have been other people that had, visited and seen their own things. And then it's not like people don't go there. It's just you're not, I guess, supposed to just show up there because...
Trespassing?
Well, not just that it's trespassing, is that they actually, it kind of gives me Area 51 kind of vibes. Like, you can drive by and be like, oh, there it is. But you can't, like, go there. Someone will stop you.
I don't like that. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, but it also is private property. So,
I mean, I understand that it's private property, but I'm also like, if you're gonna make a phenomenon out of an area, why wouldn't you let people go there then?
Do you want it to become a touristy kind of thing?
It already is.
Is it though? I mean, I feel like it's more of a scientist tourism.
Tourism is tourism.
Okay.
Baby.
Oh God. Yeah, there is.
No, really. Like, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't need to blow up in tourism, I guess. But if you're gonna lean into it, why not lean into it and let other people there?
The funny thing too is that there's really not. When I think of like weird, like skinwalkers and things like that, I think of foresty kind of areas.
No, this is a ranch, so it's like
this is
what's
wide
the
open
movie Signs.
It's wide open spaces.
Signs?
Like there's not even corn. It's like waist high stuff,
So not signs.
not signs. It's like
No
it's just
corn.
field. It's just fields of like nothing because they were using it for cows.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's super weird. Very bizarre.
I think something is happening. I also think some of the stories, like the Native American in the beginning, I think could have been Northern Lights, but the part that I can't get over is the cows.
Well, and they keep talking about orbs, which are not, and then like in today's research, they would know if it was Northern Lights, but they're still seeing orbs and weirdly shaped
Right.
stuff. So
Hmm.
also, if I
What do you believe?
if I remember correctly, I think there was a story about one of the owners back in the day before they sold, about something about the dog like getting up and walking away as it like ran and then like stood up and walked off. I could be misremembering that, but that would weird me out if I lived there and I just saw the dog run away, get past a certain fence line, and then get up and walk off on two legs.
That was not explained.
Yeah, I did not.
So it's like, I was like, what do you mean it's running and then walking?
Yeah, like it ran on four legs away like a dog would, got past a certain fence, and like I guess maybe it thought it wasn't being watched anymore, so then stood up on its two legs and like changed shape and walked away. That was the if I could be misremembering, but I swear there's something like that in the story somewhere.
That's so weird.
It's really weird. I think Skinwalker Ranch is just one of those. I think weird things are happening there. I think it's a little weird that they do call it Skinwalker Ranch, considering that. I mean, they have had phenomena where you hear weird voices and screams and stuff like that too. I've seen a video of there was somebody screaming, "Help me," but there was nobody there when they ran over to that location. Stuff like that. So I think. Do I want to go see it for myself? Yes, absolutely. I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I want to know what's really going on over there.
Right. Yeah, me too.
So, so whether if you lean into scientific skepticism or you are captivated by the paranormal, you can explore it further, which I also encourage you to do. That book that I mentioned before, The Hunt for the Skinwalker by Colm Keller and George Knapp. The articles on Ancient Origins, Smithsonian Magazine, and 14 Times. And then there's always the archival material from the official reports on Skinwalker Ranch Official
website.
And then there's the segments on History Channel, but I feel like that's usually more performative than whatever.
Yeah, somewhat.
So, anything else?
No, I think that was so fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
About this.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a comment, follow, subscribe, share, all those fun things.
Whatever, all the things.
Yeah, so that's everything. I guess we'll talk to you later on That's Peculiar. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on That's Peculiar. If you're new here, please be sure to follow, like, and leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Tune in every week for a new episode.